Darren, what are your thoughts on the recently passed PMQs?
Well, really interesting, isn't it, Alex, that Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, didn't go on that confidence vote. Yes, there were quips here and there, but in the end, he didn't decide to focus on that issue. You may think it was an open goal for the Labour leader to do that. It certainly would have made the Prime Minister feel uncomfortable, but I think the Labour Party view this actually as a kind of internal Conservative matter, and the worst thing that Labour could do in kind of attacking the Prime Minister in that way is that they might unite the Conservative Party from their point of view, and I think that's why Keir decided to swerve the issue almost entirely. He did focus on the National Health Service, and quite effectively, it must be said, at times talking about the long waiting lists at A&E for seeing GPs and for cancer care, and suggesting that this is not pandemic related but stretches back the best part of a decade. For the Prime Minister's response, he can rightly point to the fact that the government is investing records amounts of money in the National Health Service and that they are recruiting more doctors and nurses, though with doctors it doesn't seem they're going to hit that target of 6,000 by the end of this Parliament. The problem is that extra money actually getting to the front line? Is it showing up in results? Because it's clear that many members of the public don't think it is. There is a massive pandemic backlog, there is no doubt about that. It's going to take a long time to clear, and I think this is why it is an issue, even though the public understand that backlog, that is quite tricky, I think, for the Conservative Party, despite the fact that they are pumping a lot of money into the National Health Service. And it is a reminder, I think, Alex, that aside from all the politics, at Westminster and about the votes and the wranglings and the rows within the Conservative Party, actually out there in the country there are big issues that face this government, and really tricky ones as well. It's not just the National Health Service, but today the OECD claimed that Britain's economy next year is essentially going to remain stagnant with 0% growth, that we will be bottom of the pile just above Russia in the G20, and again that means that people's standards of living will continue to slip over the next year. Inflation could well hit 10% by the end of the year. And we know that petrol prices could hit a record high as of tomorrow, costing maybe up to 100 quid for an average family to top up their car. And all of that, of course, whether the government likes it or not, many people will pin that on the government, and that is why, as I say, irrespective of what Conservative MPs think, Boris Johnson's got a pretty difficult task, simply because, you know what, it's pretty tricky out there at the moment on the economy, on the health system, and it must be said also on immigration too.